My good friend Dr. Joe Congeni with us from Akron Children's Hospital in studio. We're going to talk in a moment here about rubber ball. I just want to talk medical issues for just to open up, Joe, and then we'll get to the rubber ball because you certainly walked the sidelines and saw so much history there. But LeBron came out after the NBA Finals and mentioned damaged hand, hit a blackboard, hurt him the whole series. And he played very well. So, yeah. But I didn't notice, and of course I wasn't there on that sidelines.
Yeah.
Any gigantic swelling or anything like that. Can you break a small bone in your hand, and have it not react with swelling and hamper your ability to do a specific thing?
You know, the way they described it, it was a thing we call football hand, probably, where when athletes get their hand stepped on or hit against a helmet or hit against the ground, it swells a lot. There's bone bruising. Even when you get an MRI, you see bruising of the bone, but not broken through all the way. But I am surprised we couldn't see swelling, but you could see he wasn't the same the rest of the series. So he probably had football hand. It takes about 2 weeks for those broken blood vessels, the hematoma in the back of the hand, to go down. And he didn't have 2 weeks to wait. So
okay, so there we go. Now let's talk a little bit. They started it this week.
Yeah,
a demolition of the rubber bowl. And oh, by the way, the city of Akron has asked us to say you're not allowed on the premises. Okay, if you want to try to get out there, you have to go through the city. But they're trying to do their job. And we had reports that there was a bunch of people out there trying, Joe, to get some memorabilia from certainly history of the rubber bowl. It's such a historic place.
It was.
But they're asking really stay out of the way. If you do have some questions about what you can do, take pictures or whatever, go through the city. I don't know what their answers will be, but start with that. You wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I have 4 segments of things that I covered in 22 years at the Rubber Bowl. You said it, patrolling the sidelines, for the Akron Children's Hospital sports medicine team. And number one area was I when I was a resident in 1986, the first time I got to the Rubber Bowl, they said, hey, you cover the city series. And oh my gosh, it's Elliott, Buchtel, Garfield games. They were so hard hitting, great football. So that's where I cut my teeth. And the second segment that I was involved in was in 1988. They started having the Division I big school state semifinal. The winner goes to the state championship. The 88 game was jammed, not a seat in the place. St. Ignatius versus Massillon. People think Ignatius, huge powerhouse, all the championships. They hadn't won anything by 88. They won 5 in the 90s in a row, maybe 6 in the whole decade. But Ignatius hadn't won one. Massillon, not a seat in the place. Great game in 88. The 90s come about. They still are asking this young sports medicine doc to patrol the sidelines. And in back-to-back years, every other year, I saw a couple of Hall of Famers in, I think it was 92 or 93. This Warren Harding team was the mythical national champs. They had a phenomenal team and a phenomenal left tackle by the name of Corey Stringer. Corey Stringer would go down as one of the best ever and, of course, died with a heat illness and a sad thing. Corey was amazing. And then 2 years later, a better tackle. Some people say the greatest tackle in NFL history, Orlando Pace, was playing for Sandusky. And oh my gosh, was he good on his way to Ohio State and the Rams. And many great players that I saw there in my hat of the state semifinals. Of course, in 1988, I started covering the University of Akron. Gosh, in those days was I busy. Friday night, high school football, Saturdays, covering all the Akron U games. And at the U of A, more Hall of Famers. Jason Taylor. Remember well, Jason Taylor and I were in the bowels of the Rubber Bowl when he told me, I'm not sure with the injuries of this game if I want to keep playing. He really had doubts in his mind. He goes on to be one of the greatest defensive ends of all time. I saw him last year in Canton. He gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Phenomenal kid, phenomenal player, Jason Taylor. Great quarterbacks there. Chad Pennington, Marshall and the Jets. Byron Leftwich, you can look it up on YouTube. He hurt his ankle and foot. They weren't sure, their medical team, what it was. His teammates, the guards, would pick him up between plays and carry him to the huddle.
I remember that.
And they have it down if you look it up on YouTube. Amazing. He goes on to play for Jacksonville. One of the greatest shootouts, Charlie Fry versus Josh Cribbs.
Remember that.
35-38. Last team with the ball is going to win the game. Somebody comes up with the brilliant idea in 2005, let's play it on Thanksgiving Day, early in the day. A big blizzard blows in 05. The blizzard, the snow bowl, they call it. Snow in the morning, starts being incredible wind in the afternoon, 27-mile-an-hour winds. Only time in football I've ever seen an Akron U punter punted a ball up, it blew back, hit the frozen turf, bounced backward, lost yardage on a punt. I've never seen that before. An amazing game. And my fourth segment, of course, was covering Hoban St. V. And so when that rivalry came back in '96, I worked every game, Hoban St. V games. A couple of pretty good players, Tyrell Sutton, LeBron James, many others on both sides that have played professionally. Hoban had its way for a while at the Rubber Bowl. They moved to Infocision. St. V had their way for a while. The rivalry right now is 34-33 Hoban. I mean, how good could you want a rivalry to be? But my favorite personal memory, it's personal and professional, and I appreciate you letting me tell this one. In one of the games, Hoban St. V, the place was full. You said it was always mid-September, so it was a beautiful night. And the odd part was, okay, now my son was playing. They needed a linebacker. His sophomore year, he's playing. I'm like, is he ready for this? He's been playing through the year, and he wouldn't even look at me on the sidelines. When he saw me, he'd sneer at me. We don't need sports medicine on the sidelines. He's the tough guy. And so he gets in this game, Hoban down 24 late in the third quarter. Tyrell Sutton, 3 fourth quarter touchdowns. Hoban comes back. Last play of the game, desperation pass. My son spins the quarterback around on a blitz. Picked off pass. Game's over. He looks at me and starts running toward me. I'm not sure what he's going to do. He is sweat all over. His hand was bleeding. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He lifts me high in the air, lets me down, and then takes off to celebrate with his teammates. And I feel the adrenaline still as I sit here now because it was an odd personal and professional moment in the Rubber Bowl. But a lot of things I saw in 22 years, and I really appreciate you allowing me to give a little tour.
Grand old place, huh?
Great place with great history. Really phenomenal football. And when it was full, like we used to say about Cleveland Stadium, oh my gosh, the buzz during like that Ignatius Massillon game, the place would rock. There was a thing called the Acme Zip game, and when it was full for that, it would be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rubber Bowl starting the demolition this week. So there you go, a little history down memory lane with Dr. Joe Congeni. Joe, good stuff. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
There you go, Dr. Joe Congeni with us in studio.